Welcome to the 58th taping of the infamous Todd Show, Season 3, Episode 5. I remember when I first began this series, I thought there's no way I would be able to pull this project off. If I would have known I had this ability, I would have been exploring creating YouTube and podcast content years ago to rise to the challenge of the circumstances. How many times have you stopped doing something because you were overwhelmed by perceived complications? My mom took care of almost a dozen children on and off as I grew up. And this doesn't even include the thousands of children she mentored as a pom-pom and baton squad she created in towns like Rochester, Auburn Heights, and Holly. Well, Auburn Heights is now called Auburn Hills now that they're fancy smancy. And the village of Holly across Michigan. I only mention this to let you know why my mother's vehicle was so important to her. We were dirt poor. And by the time my mom met my father, Kaczynski, living and struggling as a poor person was ingrained in my heart and soul. People will tell you, often I still behave as if I'm on the verge of losing everything. But this is okay, because you know what? I know how to be loving, happy, silly, and wonderfully entertained as a poor person. I believe most of the people listening to this show have no clue on how to be broke and happy at the same time. I also know many people that listen to this show, the only thing they know is being broke. I can't help people to not be broke. However, I can help you be a little happier in life, with your family, and with your friends, and them be a little happier being around you too. This, after all, is the purpose of the new direction we're taking in Season 3 of the infamous Todd Show. I remember learning how to drive when I lived in Holly, Michigan as a child. Here I was on the first day of driver's ed with three other fellow students. They got in the car with a shop teacher to venture off through the village of Holly. The first driver drove all the way to Fenton, a small town that's next to Holly. Our teacher had her pull over so we could switch drivers. Kaczynski, you're next. I inhaled. Ah, shit. I thought as I swapped positions with this older, gorgeous cheerleader with the most wonderful light beige skin. To this day, I still don't know her ethnicity or even remember her name. She was the class of 78 or 79. I was a freshman, practically pink, still smelling of mother's milk. Now this coming from a small Midwestern boy from a town that only had one family that did not glow in the dark white. Perhaps there were more. I honestly only remember one. So, I crawled behind the steering wheel, so skinny, 150 pounds, 6'1", shaking like a leaf, looking like a hairless, terrified Chihuahua dog. Okay, Kaczynski, let's go. I sat there freaked out. What's the matter, Kaczynski? I felt so embarrassed. I didn't have the slightest idea on how to even start a car. I knew it had something to do with turning on the key, but do you do it while pushing down on one of the pedals? Do you put it into one of the gears? Perhaps both? Do I need to push both pedals on the floor? Oh crap. I felt sweat trickling down my back. I was going to throw up. What's wrong, Kaczynski? I was so embarrassed as I told him I'd never been behind the wheel of a moving car in my entire life. Just the thought of killing my mother's only mode of transportation ensured my ignorance. I was in 10th grade. I didn't have a single friend that had a car. Needless to say, a person willing to let me drive their car. My grandparents lived in Rochester, Michigan, and my uncles and aunts had zero interest in me. So here I sat in the parking lot, overwhelmed, frozen. It was a life lesson. I think back at that moment 100 times in my life, perhaps even 1,000 times. I was so panicked because nowhere in my mind could I picture me driving a few months later through Detroit with one hand barely on the steering wheel, holding a Dr. Pepper in a red paper big gulp glass cup, while my other hand balanced a Big Mac, turning up the dial until the till the windows shook, French fries in my lap, KC and the Sunshine Band blaring on the radio, whipping down the interstate on I-75 with Clyde in my car, barely looking at the road, watching Clyde pretending to do some drum solo on my dashboard. Over 40 years ago, I taught myself not to be afraid of being overwhelmed by my insecurities. I bet those of you listening have your own stories, but few of you remember to recall them when you are feeling adversely affected. I did a marvelous show on What Kind of Friend Are You for episode 55 a few weeks ago. I had a chance to explore my relationship with the people in my life. For me, once I went through the new process I developed for the new agenda of my life started, and I started in April. I began to breathe a lot easier this month because I was no longer so judgmental over the people in my life and how I interacted with them and my expectations of what I needed from them. It gave me a chance to focus in on the family and friends that are truly part of my active life, if even only on social media. The more advanced my mental challenges become, the more I find myself panicked. Entire hours are now vanishing as if they never happened at all. Erased sometimes minutes after I create them. It's very disturbing when you shave and a minute later you're trying to attempt to put more shaving cream on your face to shave, and then you have not a zero clue that you just shaved a minute ago and wondering why is there remnants of shaving cream near your ears and blood trickling from the edge of your nostril. Instead of feeding off the nervousness, I challenge myself. I stalk my family and friends that make time for me to ensure I don't forget them too. Often to entertain myself with their silliness. Believe me, the people I know constantly entertain me. It didn't take long before I realized that people in my life become their own stereotypes. I can almost guess the content on their social media. Often the only interaction I have with them since I live out in Timbuktu, I begin to wonder, what is their stereotype of me, friends? If somebody went up to one of your family and friends and said, what type of content do you project of you? What do you think they would say about you? Would they say, oh, I think you spend too much time playing Candy Crush online? Will they say, tell them to stop sending me game requests? Could they predict the main content of your life as you project it on social media sites? Do they believe you have become that online person in real life? Think about it. You go online and here they are posting the most radical religious or political banter. Do you believe they are now that person in real life? I did. I do. I'm confused. I think I still do. Sorry. Would you be surprised to know that statistics firmly state that the answer is yes? Definitely yes. Don't believe me? Look at the country, how it's being torn apart. Everything is black and white. We are beating up each other until we are all black and blue. Based on stuff that we've read online from our family and friends. We are hemorrhaging people from our lives, purging them based on their posts on social media. Crazy talk did not start with social media. That crazy uncle or classmate didn't become radicalized because they joined social media. Don't be that naive. They've always had those thoughts. You just never asked them about it. They never shared it with you. You never cared. But now you understand them and you're freaked out. But don't worry, they're most likely thinking you're a mess too. What we read is now becoming our reality. It has become our reality, the stereotype of that person. We are now all defining each other in 3 simple thoughts because few of us are digging into each other's personal lives beyond social media. Few will admit it. We all want to believe we are smarter and more savvy than our friends. We are not. You know why not? Because we're judging them by their posts too. How many times do you look at someone's post and think, I love you, but you're an idiot? Please, I didn't need social media for people to think I am a moron. They thought it long before Tom Anderson from MySpace asked me to be my first friend. I know if I go on Elvin and Ricky's profile, I'll find them making fun of each other in posts. I know that I am the only cool gay friend many people I know. You know how I know? Because I seem to be the only person they tag every time they see a gay post. That's their stereotype of me. But that's okay. It's okay that I'm their token gay. For the record, most of them are my token straight person. I also know I need to update cherished memories with childhood friends, because here we are 40 years later, and the only time we seem to write about each other is in historical references. I need to make new memories with the Scotts and Donnies and Johns and Janices and Skylers in my life. Now don't forget, Skylers are the people that have not given me permission to use not even their first name on shows by accessing the infamous Todd show on YouTube on Facebook and granted me permission. I'll be 58 this year. When I was 14, I snuck in my neighbor's garage and I stole frozen chocolate bananas from their freezer. To this day, I cannot have a discussion with Brenda without her mentioning those damn bananas. Let it go, Brenda. Let it go. If it's the only good memory of me is those bananas 44 years ago, then I have failed you as a friend. Help me become a better friend to you. Don't get me wrong. We all have funny stories of our friends, some more than others. I'm not going to tell you which one of my friends peed on my carpet every time they were drunk because they thought they were standing inside the bathroom. I wouldn't do that to John. I wouldn't tell you that Ward did drugs in my bathroom of my home on Christmas and then came out to eat and threw up on the plate in front of everyone and then just continued eating like nothing happened while we were all shocked looking around. You know why not? Because I'm not that mean. Well, perhaps enough. At least I won't be sharing their last names. So, John, you can continue to keep watching this. Few of the stories match. You know the comment, there's my story and their story, and somewhere in the middle lies the truth. Now, I know I accentuate the retelling of my stories of the people in my life for gleeful entertainment. Often the stories you remember is not even a memory the other person kept in their life. My friend Clyde constantly talks about me rebottling some cologne in high school. I don't have the slightest idea what he is talking about. It sounds like something I would do. Even without my onset dementia, I would still lose memories. We all do. I remember my friend Scott telling me after I returned home from the military that he was surprised that he heard my girlfriend would join me in my last mile of my 5-mile jog each day. Now, I thought he was surprised Mary joined me after I ran 5 miles, but it turned out he was shocked to hear that I ran. He told me, you walk like a duck, and ducks don't run. Now, for Scott, that joke vanished from his mind the second after we laughed. But for me, over 40 years later, it's stuck. It's stuck in my life. And as you can tell by this body, it has not run for a very long time. My cardiologist won't let me. I hate treadmills. Walking too far with onset dementia makes Michael nervous. So I sit here with thinning legs, my bubble butt destroyed, my arms so thin that I can now I can wrap my fingers completely around my biceps. And because of the destructive gut surgery from the emergency a few years ago, my extended stomach is now held in place by mesh that tries to contain the remaining innards. Don't get me wrong. I can't promise you that I would be thin without all these health complications. I spent my entire life being big and thin. I won't say in shape. I hate that comment. Every size is a shape, people. Picasso painted shapes. A circle is a shape. So is a pear. I do, however, miss the mental relaxation jogging provided. Those moments of visual clarity. Something I lost each time I gained weight when I stopped running. Long enough for me to ask my eldest child when she was just a small little child, "Hey Cheryl, do you think this shirt makes me look fat?" And with the most innocent face, she glanced up to say, "No, Daddy, your fat makes you look fat." Bitch. Well, anyway, my heart will only let me walk a block at the most. With onset dementia, Michael is afraid of me walking too far from the home, in fear of that one of my walks becoming one of those 911 calls you get when Grandma walks off into oblivion. Speaking of me walking off into oblivion, if you are watching this on social media, I have in the post below the windshield camera I bought for our 4,500 mile summer road trip. Any ideas or comments you can share, I would appreciate it. I want to immortalize our adventure, though Michael is insisting it won't be used in his Jeep. I fear he doesn't want any physical evidence of him leaving me stranded in some cornfield when he runs out of patience of listening to me. So if I vanish, you'll know why. I just ask one favor of all of you. Can you track down Michael twice a week and remind him to empty Morgan's litter box? Well, I'm hoping that he'll let me stick around long enough to tease John and Skyler and Bobby and Ron throughout the 2020 election. Each of them is so far from the right or to the left that I need to harass all of them. All four of them have drank so much of their own side's Kool-Aid that I fear one of them might be right. After all, the last time I thought I knew a drop about politics, and I am a politics junkie, Trump won. So I know now I don't know anything about politics. For better or worse, I refuse to talk about politics or religion on my show. But I have to talk about those four people. We all have them in our life. Talking about them is a lose situation, since at this point, nobody agrees with anything, needless to say, an entire mandate. I'll stick with just trying to make you laugh, and hopefully somewhere along the line, I do make you laugh. I think this is the good side of social media. It gives you a chance to engage with people, or the chance to look at their posts and say, "Oh, hell no, they've gone batshit crazy." Social media gives you a chance to reconnect with long-lost friends, even if you absolutely refuse to get on social media. You have to admit, your hate rarely transfers to those people insisting on using social media to communicate. I wonder, when telephones were placed in homes for the first time, were people saying, "You always call me. You always call me and you rarely come over anymore. I hate this new contraption." I'm so happy knowing social media brought childhood friends back to me, even though I don't have the slightest idea how to re-engage with them yet. I am still trying to figure that out, though every part of my spirit desires a new beginning with them. It also gives me a chance to get with the Christophers in my life. You know, the people that were once your friend, but their negative circumstances tore you apart. And as years pass, perhaps circumstances changed, and you don't have the slightest idea, so you try to re-engage with them to create a new beginning. You know, your friends are like a low and high watermark on a clean glass. You've been together through bad times. You've been together through good times. Sometimes you hate them. Other years you like them. You remind each other of your losses and your gains, insanity, sanity. Nobody probably knows this more than my friend Jeremy. Though I must admit, the jury is out on many of the people in my life. I am sure many of them say the same thing about me. Instead of looking at your friends and your family for their faults, starting today, Look for their positive traits to define their stereotype of what you think of them, about them. Look for the Melissas in your life, the people that project strength in a world of body shaming. You have this person already in your life. You know, that person that reminds you that you are beautiful, no matter what shape or size you are in your life. Do not let other people define your heart, your worth, spirit, and confidence by their conceived value of what a good person looks like to them. If you don't have one of those people in your life, find better friends. Ask yourself, are you a Melissa in the lives of others? Do you project strength when it comes to self-worth? Look for the Darlenes protecting the cats in the world, or the Steves watching over the dogs. You know them. Not an animal scroll past their social media life without them having to share it. You go to their homes and they live the same life as their social media posts. When you're in their homes, if you were to open up their bank accounts, I'm sure you'll see expenses relating back to their posts. They live their talk every day. Well, perhaps it's best you don't go in their house and open up their bank account information. Awkward. Well, I know the people that I can turn to for entree recipes. The Miguels to seek dessert recipes. The Daryls to remind myself that glam rock bands once existed. And they still look and act as if they're part of that band. The Teresas that remind me that nurses like Darlene and Laura, did more for me than most doctors in my life. The Robins of the world that take me vicariously on their ocean expeditions as a scuba divers. The daughters that post priceless glimpses of their life and remind me that once upon a time I gave my own parents less attention than she gives me. And the Cindys that take up causes that are also important to me. The people in your life that align things that are important to you. Find a way to keep up with these people, even if it's only sending them a brief message through text, email, or social media. Make a list of those people invested in you and those that you wish to invest in. You'll find that list is pretty small. If you have to go on social media, make time. Make time to reach out to 5 of them. Nothing overwhelming. Don't wait for them to pop up on your news feed searching for them. After all, you're not invested if you're only reaching out if Facebook or Snapchat reminds you to be active with them. Make your conversation with them more than one sentence. And always include a personal note by using their first name. You will change your life. At first it'll catch them off guard. They won't know how to respond. 1 or 2 will most likely not reply at all. They're not ignoring you. They may have their notification button turned off. Send them 3 or 4 sentences in their private mailboxes on their site, in a text, on social media, on their personal emails. Make sure you include their name. I wrote people, and if I didn't include their name, they ignored it. I bet they think you are sending this out as a group message. Try to use their first name each time you contact them. If they don't reply, keep doing it over and over. If it's truly important enough for you to have them as a friend in your life, even if it's just a family member. Not all family members are friends. If they never reply or just keep clicking some emoji, it's all right. I wrote the first 5 people. One of them actually wrote back, Todd, I'd like to think that your last message was for me and for me alone. And then he proceeded to say that he didn't think so, but in the meantime, and I thought, how terrible. I need to start using their names. I need to start writing to the people that I care about more often. And if they still ignore you, remember, they may not be using social media as a way to communicate. Now, if you're writing them on Facebook and you see your message read, because Facebook will let you know, and they don't give you any interaction for weeks in a row while the person is constantly posting stuff on Facebook or wherever you're trying to talk to them, learn to walk away. They're just not into you. They may not be interested in you the same way you are interested in keeping up with them. There's a good reason people chant, "Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." This was around a lot longer than AA. If it turns out later that you are wrong, they'll come back to you. But in the meantime, it frees up more time for you to keep up with those that are invested in you. Soon you will have committed people in your life, the people that you deserve. Again, not overwhelmed. If you can't do 5, do 3. Tell yourself, if I have time to go on social media, I have time to go search out 3 different people. How about 1 different person? How about 1 person on your list that you weren't talking to before, but you think would be interesting to include in your life? Now remember, you might not be on their list, but you'll never know if you don't try. And don't confuse being a friend with being friendly. I want to think I am a friend with everyone. It pisses off my haters because I'm friendly with them too. It's in my nature. It has always been in my nature. Having a friend is not in my nature. Like many of you listening, my actual group of friends is limited because I find very close friends to be exhausting. I promise you, all my close friends and family members get exhausted being around me. I come from a family where everyone is disjointed. Aunts, uncles wrote me off as a child. Doubt they cared if I lived or died once I hit 12. To be more exact, I doubt most of them even remember now that I'm still alive. They just don't care. Maybe same as most of my cousins, since their parents felt it wasn't important for us to be close as a family. I keep up with very few of my cousins. What about you? But the ones that I do keep up with, I'm very appreciative. It's one stereotype that I always envy from non-white cultures. Eventually, even some of my siblings could care less. It wasn't that they hated me as much as they just didn't care. At least with hate, you live in their mind and heart, for better or worse. You're still part of their life. My youngest daughter does not like me, but so therefore I exist. Many of my siblings and their children don't even acknowledge I'm alive. To them, I do not exist. To their children, my name is just that, a name. Maybe a photo they noticed of Michael and me at their grandparents' home in Clearwater, Florida. It would be easy to be overwhelmed by grief. Believe me, losing my youngest granddaughter most of my life, it's heartbreaking. It's torment. It's soul crushing. But just like learning to drive that car when I was a child, I must calm down and realize it's not the end of the world. Figure it out does not mean I will fix it and make it right. Once I learned that car, it didn't make me a great and careful car driver. It was easy for the doctors to tell me I couldn't drive anymore because I knew even when I was well, I was not an alert driver. By focusing in on the people that interact with you, you begin to concentrate on those people paying attention to you. Right now, some incredible person is trying to be part of your life, and you're not even noticing them. By me changing my habits, by doing this new behavior, I noticed wonderful people that got lost in the news feeds, that didn't even realize they could talk to me. I have never not replied to someone that sent me a private note. I constantly talk on this show about people that are the white noise in your life. Be friendly with them. But learn friendly does not necessarily mean friend. I do group messages. They are general posts. I place them on social media walls. It's me being friendly. The sentences I place on people's walls are me trying to be friendly. The sentences I write personally to them are me trying to be their friend. This show is me doing a group message. It is me being friendly. You are listening to it each week by asking Alexa, Siri, my Google to play the podcast, The Infamous Todd, or through almost 60 social media or podcast sites around the world, YouTube, infamoustodd.com. It's friendly. The people that follow through my advice are friendly. I cherish you for participating each week in the show. But you know what? When I log off, I'm going to go back to reaching out to the people in my life. I want you to leave the show today and reach out to your family and friends to be closer to you. What are you going to do this week to strengthen the relationships you have with your family and friends? Think about it. Share your message with the Infamous Todd Show on Facebook or YouTube. I'm easy to find. I'm very obnoxious that way. Oh yes, and starting today, I am going to share a weekly funny comment of somebody that each time a random person that places something on my wall that I find funny, either on YouTube or the Infamous Todd Show on Facebook. And this week it comes from a lesbian named Darlene that made a comment about my haircut, stating that gay men seem to be getting haircuts that reminded her of a cockatiel with high feathered bangs. To make a smart-ass comment, I went and I Googled lesbian haircut. Try it. I burst out laughing. Google made the funny comment of the week. Look at the section on images. Almost every image shows it's the lesbians that started this haircut with the same haircut Darlene was using to make fun of my comment. So, until next week, don't beat yourself up by trying to be everything to everyone. Reach out to the people that are reaching out to you and let them read how important you are to them. And by the way, don't forget to check out this camera that I posted in the comments section and tell me your ideas for future shows. I am the Infamous Todd. This is the Infamous Todd Show. And until Sunday of next week, make it a great day. Bye.